Hey, it's the preacher, and I want to give you a slideshow of my family vacation road trip. We left home Sunday after church, stayed the night in Memphis, had breakfast with a preacher friend. Next morning, we dropped the kids off in Nashville at the soda parlor, spent Monday night in Bristol, Virginia. The next day, Tuesday, we were at Stanton, Virginia for the Frontier Culture Museum. I love this place so much I didn't take a picture. Do yourself a favor, if you're on I-81, stop in here, pay $10 more, get a shopping cart. You will love this place. It was phenomenal. We left there, we had lunch, we headed to a place just outside of D.C., outside the Marine Corps base of Quantico. Stayed the night. We got up Wednesday morning and we went to Mt Vernon, home place of George Washington. Now the legend has it that he couldn't tell a lie and he told his father he chopped down the cherry tree. I'm not going to tell you a lie. I didn't like Mt Vernon. $72 to get in with the online discount, and you're surrounded by teenage kids on a school trip. You see a garden. You look at the garden. Oh, that's cabbage. We have that at home. You look at the Potomac River. Oh, that's nasty. I wouldn't stick my toe in it. You go back and you look at the garden again. You go look at the house again. It's hot. There's giggling, laughing kids everywhere with no parents. They do have a working farm. It's kind of neat. They have a museum you can go through. It has a lot of artifacts. Even has George Washington's false teeth. Yes. I know, it was pretty neat. But I wouldn't pay $70. Honestly, I wouldn't go back. So we left Mt Vernon. We had lunch. We checked into our hotel in D.C. We stayed at the Hotel Harrington, which is just about 2 or 3 blocks from the White House and a couple blocks from the National Mall. It's very centrally located. It's an older hotel, but it's very reasonably priced. And if you're on a budget like me, hey, it worked for us. Now, I did see the IRS building, and I wanted to get a picture of it, but at the same time, I knew I wasn't supposed to make eye contact. We had supper, poked around. We got up Thursday morning and hit the National Mall. Now, the National Mall runs from the Lincoln Memorial all the way to the U.S. Capitol building. And in the middle are monuments and statues and all kinds of things like that. And on the sides are basically the Smithsonian museums, art galleries, the National Archives, all that kind of stuff. Here's the Lincoln Memorial. This would be on the western end of the mall. And if you go early, we got there around 8:30. There wasn't a lot of people there. They say in the afternoon it can get really, really crowded. And so you don't get an idea of how big this thing is till you get in there. So when we left there's a picture from the top of the Lincoln Memorial back to the U.S. Capitol. There's a reflection pool there, but it's drained. I did get a reflection in the little, kind of smelled like catfish there too. I think they were cleaning it. That's the Korean War Memorial. That would, if you were standing in the Lincoln, that would be off to your right. On your left is the Vietnam Memorial. We kind of walked through these and took a look. You could spend as much time as you wanted. We were just kind of waiting till 10 o'clock for the Smithsonian's to open. There's a little bit closer picture of the U.S. Capitol. So at 10 o'clock, the Smithsonian's open. We dropped our daughter off at the art gallery. Our son went to the Aerospace Museum. And we ducked into the Natural History Museum. After 15 minutes of being told I came from a monkey, I said, I can do better than this. So we left the Natural History Museum and we went to the American Museum of National History. This is basically just all kinds of things from America. And I loved it. And there again, I got involved and I didn't take very many pictures. I think this is all the pictures I took. But this thing has a weird mix of stuff. This is Julia Child's kitchen where she cooked. I think it's Julia Child's. I can't even remember. Anyways, I loved it. We spent the whole day bouncing around there. We got up on Friday morning and drove from D.C. to Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, which will take you about an hour to an hour and a half. We loved Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. It's made famous by John Brown's revolution, the slave revolution that failed. And what makes it unique geologically is you have the Shenandoah River coming in on the right and the Potomac on the left. And on the other side of the Potomac, I'm now standing in Maryland looking back towards Harper's Ferry and up the Shenandoah River. There's the train bridge coming through the mountain in Maryland. This thing changed hands 7 times during the Civil War. And every time some side would take it over, they would destroy a train bridge. So you have tons of piers left from train bridges. And that's a very pretty area. And I'm going to say it's like 2/3 or 3/4 national park, surrounded by national park. And you can poke your head in these historic buildings. They're like museums. There's also a large number of restaurants, ice cream shops, little knick-knack stores. I don't know. It's good for a half a day. I would say if you had a half a day, you would enjoy exploring Harper's Ferry. My advice would be park at the National Park parking and ride the free shuttle bus back and forth. So after we saw the sights in Harper's Ferry, we drove over to Winchester, Virginia, which is just 30 minutes away, and we stayed the night, Friday night in Winchester, Virginia. We got up Saturday. We drove 6.5 hours to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. There we stayed at the Edgewater Hotel, which was pretty reasonably priced. It had been newly renovated, has an indoor-outdoor pool, and it's about 1 block. I think it's right at 1 block off the main drag, but it's right in the middle of the main drag. So I got up Sunday morning at 6 o'clock and headed for Cades Cove. And I got in Cades Cove around 7. The traffic is real bad. This place gets busy in the afternoon. But if you get up early and you get there about the time the sun's coming over the mountains, and you can get some beautiful sunrises, beautiful pictures. You're going to see a ton of animals. There's tons and tons of bears. Literally, I'm talking pounds. There's tons of pounds of bears. I didn't see any bears on this trip. I saw 4 the last time I was there. And, man, it's probably, in my opinion, it's one of the most beautiful places in America. If you've never been to the Smoky Mountains, go. And if you go to Cades Cove. And you're going to see so many deer. If you don't see 25 deer, you had your eyes closed. I mean, I saw bucks like this a lot. This is one of the better bucks I saw. You got to keep in mind this is early to mid-June. That'll end up being a pretty good buck come November. In the cove, as well as throughout all the Smokies, there are cabins, churches, grist mills, and they're all open, and you can park and go in them and explore them and look around. This loop through Cades Cove, I think it's like 11 miles one way. And there's a visitor center there, but the speed limit's 20. Please go 20 miles an hour. If you don't, you're going to end up hitting a deer, because I'm not kidding you, they're everywhere. A deer or a bear or a turkey. In between Cades Cove and Gatlinburg is a place called the Sinks. It's just a little waterfall, but the road goes right over the top. So you can just pull over and take a picture of it if you want, like I did. But there are better waterfalls in the Smokies, but you have to hike to them. If you're not able to hike, or you're like me, you just don't want to hike, I'd pull over at the Sinks and take a couple pictures. As a matter of fact, anywhere in the Smokies, basically any road, you can pull over and take pictures like this, because nearly every road has a stream of some kind running beside it, and they all look just about like that. There's nothing spectacular about these photos. These are just where I got tired of driving, decided to pull over, or I saw a deer and I got out and took a few pictures of it. That's basically typical of every creek in the Smokies. So in leaving Cades Cove in the Gatlinburg area, I'm headed over the mountain through Newfound Gap Road, and you go through about 3 or 4 tunnels. You get to the top of the hill, then you go down the hill towards Cherokee, and if you don't get distracted by roadside creeks and waterfalls, you'll eventually get to Cherokee, North Carolina from Gatlinburg. But as you go over Newfound Gap, there are tons of places for you to pull over and take pictures of the mountaintops. Just off of Newfound Gap Road is Clingman's Dome, which is the 3rd highest point out in the eastern United States. And so you got some great picture areas. Once you come down the mountain towards Cherokee, there's another set of cabins and churches. And I went in this one. Never been in it before. Just went inside, took a few pictures, looked around. Some of the local congregations still meet there. Right before you exit the park at Cherokee, there's a visitor center. I can't pronounce it. It starts with an O. I'm not even going to embarrass myself and try. But if you want to see elk, that is your best spot to see elk. I've seen elk almost every time I've been by there. There was a herd of about 15 to 18 elk in the field when I went by, and they were still there when I left. So after taking a few elk pictures, another creek picture on the side of the road, I saw something here I've never noticed before. What kind of plant makes those red roots in the water? I don't know if we have those in Arkansas, or maybe our water's just too muddy. If you know, leave me a comment what kind of red roots those are. I'd like to know. So I headed back over the mountain towards Gatlinburg. That's looking back towards North Carolina. That's the road you take coming from North Carolina to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. As you travel, I mean, you can literally you wait 10 minutes, the clouds change, you get a totally different picture. You can see some of the fire damage on top of these mountains. Fire damage or burn is really good for bears. And right outside of Gatlinburg is a little auto loop. You actually leave from Gatlinburg and come back in Gatlinburg. And at the end, there's this waterfall. And there's a lot of burned area there. And we're seeing a lot of bears there. So that's the reason I took the loop. But honestly, if you live in the eastern United States and you have never been to the Smoky Mountains, do yourself a favor and go. There's one thing I'll promise you about the Smoky Mountains. It'll put a smile on your face. Hope you enjoyed my slideshow from my vacation. Thanks for watching.